I have a confession. So my man totally listens to these.
It's coming out after the fact. You still have time to make amends.
I know. So it's the end of Supernatural, which is my absolutely favoriteest show on TV right now.
She has blankets and calendars, you guys. Blankets and
my
calendars.
clients have given me calendars, and they've given me promo materials, and when they've worked on the show and stuff like that. Supernatural is near and dear to my heart because it actually had a lot of X-File people, which was also a big fan show for me. And it started at the top of my career. So it's like my career ended at the same time it ended, which is why it's also really emotional for me.
Right.
I watched the series finale without my boyfriend. And I lied to him about it.
Wait, what was that? Sorry, I can hear his heart breaking right now.
I lied to him about it. I totally was like, no, it's not uploaded yet. Yeah, we'll watch it tomorrow. And then I waited for him to go to bed, and then I watched it alone in my office and just cried through the whole thing. And I just cried with Alex right now too.
That is shameless right there. Shameless.
No, I'm super emotional about this. I've been really emotional about it. I love my boys. It's been hard. If you're out there and you're a Supernatural fan, you know what I mean. It's been hard.
Oh my God.
So that's my confession today. All right.
Thank you. Just 3 Hail Marys and a few something else's. I don't know.
Okay. All right, guys. Whew. I don't feel any better for this confession. Hi, I'm Cybil. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis. I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses, running your own business, it's hard.
It's super hard, but we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it out, but we promise to share everything we know about what it takes to make 6 figures and beyond.
And be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
I'm going to be honest. A bunch of it really, really sucks. So let's get started.
Ain't that the truth? Woo! Welcome back to Skinfessional. On today's show, we're talking about money mindset. And yes, we are going here again because apparently we still all got issues.
Very specific money mindset, though. This is money mindset specifically around like living paycheck to paycheck and dealing with your finances like hyper-focused.
Yes. I'm like, basically, this is the story of my life. Now, so we started talking about this because I know that Cybil's had some conversations with people, and this has come up a bunch of just like, actually tell us what have you heard from people as, okay, and I know right now too is also like hyper stressful.
Yeah. So this is hyper stressful right now. So we are prepping a webinar, and we've had a lot of people asking questions about it, and we're doing it about email marketing 101. And if you haven't signed up, there's still time to do it. And we are getting people who are asking questions about, we're interested and I want to do my Black Friday sales, which we just did that episode. And people are coming to me being like, I'm interested in doing this, but I don't know if I want to pay for anything yet because, I'm living paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And this to me, when I'm just like, wait, this class is not that expensive, and it's not that pricey, and it makes me wonder what I've literally never lived paycheck to paycheck in my entire life. And I'm gonna be straight with you. I grew up white trash poor in San Diego. My parents were bankrupt 3 times. Okay, so I'm not like a person who grew up rich. Like, we had broke down cars in my front yard. I am ghetto white trash. super. I did not have anything. My family, I was on like the lunch program at school, and I've worked since I was 12. So when people say that they live paycheck to paycheck, I'm like, but how and why? Why aren't you just living within your means? So I go to Alex and I say, Alex, I know that this is like a story that you understand because we've talked about it. And when I listen to other estheticians and business owners, and especially creatives, talk about the fact that they're living paycheck to paycheck and they can't even think about just like basic basic, like paying their utilities and putting food on their table until they get that client on the bed, until they get that next sale. They can't pay their rent. I'm just like, what is that like, and why is this happening?
And I think too, this comes down, like, money is just like, it's an object. It's a thing. It doesn't have any power other than what we bestow upon it. And we assign all of this meaning and reasoning and power to it over our lives. And I say this as someone who, like, I grew up very differently in that, we were well off. My dad, when I was about like 7, was laid off, and we went from, having no questions asked. Like, I remember my mom taking us into like Toys R Us, like, you can pick one of whatever you wanted. Like, that was like a weekly occurrence, to like nobody working. And then I know just like a lot of stress around money. And I also similarly started working right away. And I appreciate, like, beyond grateful for learning the value of money growing up. My parents never gave me money to go to the movies, never got money to like buy stuff. Like, I had to work for my money and then I could spend it. So I appreciated that lesson. But even though, when both of my parents were working again, and my mom ended up going into financial services, so it's not like money education wasn't available to me. The actual like technical aspect of money, like, I never grasped. And that's not because people weren't trying. Like, that's my mom. She tells me all the time, I bought you these books and all of this stuff. And her favorite story is that one time, I think my mom was like stressed out about like buying groceries or something. I was like, Mom, it's okay. You could just go to the ATM and get more money. Like, that was my understanding of money. And so for me, I feel like a lot of my money mindset issues came from really like probably like 17 years of age and beyond, of mistake after mistake and failure after failure of, oh, you sent too many text messages and now you owe your parents $80. And that's like a whole month of babysitting all weekend, every weekend. And, oh, you racked up your credit cards too much. And like, now mom and dad have to like bail you out. So I think the privilege, and 100% acknowledging right now, the privilege of being able to be bailed out, but that just like compounded for me the story of, you are bad with money, you are bad with numbers, you will constantly be in this feast or famine, get this huge payout and then blow it. Like, that's just going to be your story. And I think the most important thing too, to understand, whatever your story is about money and around money, it will continue to be your story unless you decide to make it different. Right. And you always have that power.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I think that's really wise. And if you're listening and you're thinking to yourself, I mean, that sounds like me, or I have a different kind of relationship or story, I've heard so many different things. And I think a lot of it comes down to kind of 3 main issues. One is you just weren't trained at all. You weren't taught at all, right? You're like, I don't know. My parents didn't know. I would look at them and they're like, I don't know. Right. Or you were like, I just never grasped it. It was a hard concept for me to understand. And I felt like a failure. And then I felt like I had needed to hide things because like, I felt right.
Money shame.
Right. And if that's where you're from, understand that like, that is a place that you need. I always feel like I would say people just let it go, because it's like any other shame. It's not serving you at all. Shame serves us not at all. Right?
No.
And then if you're in a place where you're just like, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I just feel like I'm out of control. Right? Understand that that's also something that there's somebody who can help you with, because those, I think, are the 3 main things that I've talked to people about when I've listened. And if you have another story, I'd love to hear you about that too. Because I'm fascinated by the reasoning and the stories that people tell around why we have such a struggle with money. And I think people, especially in America, we feel like we have to hide it and not talk about it.
It's super taboo.
Right? And if we just talked about it, we'd have more people who are like, hey, I got your back, or this is how I handle it. Maybe this would help you too. We talk about exercise routines. We talk about eating routines. We talk about like how we fix cars. We talk about our hair. We talk about all these things. And yet money is so vital.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's like, if you talk about it, you're arrogant. And if you don't have it, you don't want to talk about it because you're ashamed.
And our businesses tell us that we're not allowed to talk about it at all. Like you're not supposed to talk about your salary to people. You're not allowed to talk about like what you're, because God forbid that you know that somebody is making more or less than you. Right.
Which I'm like, you should know, because how many stories have we heard, especially like as of late, of people like, a woman getting paid less than the person who works beneath her. And she didn't know unless like something came about. It's just so up.
It's true. And we're not allowed to. We're literally not allowed to. And so it's something that I am like, bust out of that box. And Alex would say, change your mindset about it. And we've had somebody on here who does that and talks to you about it.
Yeah, Lindsay Brian Podvin. So there's more to this story too. I think that you don't have to hit rock bottom, so to speak, whatever that might be for you. For me, it looked like maxing out all of my credit cards and literally not knowing how I was going to pay rent. And I hadn't said anything to anybody about what was going on, including my husband or my family or anything like that. But it got to a point where I'm like, I literally can't shoulder this anymore. Like, I don't know what to do. And I think that there are so many times down the line, whatever trajectory you are currently on, where you can get help from people. And there are so many people who are willing to help you. And just like, talking about shame as well, I think shame like festers and has its power in secrecy. And anything we can do, whether it's opening up to a friend or opening up to a professional like Lindsay, of just like, here's where I'm at. Like, I don't even know where to begin. Right. Like, I think that's a huge thing. And just talking to somebody. So, and I just worked with Lindsay recently. I know I've talked about it on the show recently as well. And I'm going to hold up her book. And y'all, if you do not have this book, The Financial Anxiety Solution, look, I love it so much. I think there's food or cat poop on it. It's a step-by-step book to stop worrying about money, take control of your finances, and live a happier life. Now, I've also talked about my other favorite book, which is You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. And this was the first one I started with, which is very like it is mindset. So here's the thing. I read You Are a Badass at Making Money, and I was like, well, I'm going to just manifest the money. I'm going to manifest $50,000, and then all of my problems will be solved. And
that's not, I think, reality.
Not how it works. Not how it works.
It's a good start for like mindset switching,
or even just being aware that you can change stuff. And I just went back and read this book. Literally, I finished it like 2 days ago after going on this what? I can't even think of the word journey. I don't know what else is coming up, but of this journey of like hitting rock bottom, of literally bottom, like truly, you guys, we're talking like actually no, more than 5 figures of debt, like lots of debt. Okay. More debt than I've ever made in my business. But just like talking about it and then learning the technical piece of money. So I think that was something that I have always been missing, is that like, how does money work? Like, I can't tell you how many times my mom has explained to me the difference between a Roth IRA and a regular IRA. And I'm like, well, why? I don't understand. But you can't learn if you are stuck in shame and embarrassment about what's actually going on. And so truthfully, like, You're a Badass at Making Money, The Financial Anxiety Solution, if you can afford it, hire Lindsay or some other financial therapist in your state now and just figure out like, what is that story in your head that's telling you that, like, the sky is falling and I'm totally super broke and all of these things that may be resolved simply by taking 10% maybe of your income and putting it
Absolutely
away in an emergency fund. When Lindsay was on the show, we were talking about emergency funds. Literally, I felt ill, like physically.
I remember you were freaking out, and I was just like, this is just a normal thing. And you're like, if you're getting the sweats, if you're getting the sweats. And I was like, and
So
Lindsay and I were like, well,
yeah.
No, I mean, this is just normal things.
We could have this conversation today and it would be completely different for me. And the biggest and best thing she said to me was like, yeah, so this anxiety, it's not like you just wave a magic wand and it's gone forever. It'll still come up, but now you're in control, right? It's not in the driver's seat determining what choices and decisions I make. It's in the backseat. And I'm like, hey, I hear you, but like, we're still going this way.
That's right.
All of that is to say, though, that you can still have, because like I was doing the tendency or the habit to fall into that I'm broke feeling will be there. And maybe you can speak to this too, Cybil.
Yeah.
Even when you now have an emergency fund, even when your net worth is not a 6-figure negative number, right? Even then, you'll still be like, oh shit, is the money coming through? And that's where data and knowing your numbers and knowing, like having the spreadsheets that I talk about and having the bookkeeping shit, like doing it yourself. And then you're like, oh no, I know that I will make at minimum this much money this month because of these things. And like, I'm not broke.
Yeah.
Period.
Preach that. I mean, I've always known my numbers. It's like very important to know your numbers. And when I talk to people who kind of live, paycheck to paycheck, you either have the people who are like, I live in oblivion and I just kind of like whatever. And you're like, how are you doing this? And my eyeballs like bug out of my brain. And then you have the people who are like down to the penny and they know exactly what's happening. And, they're so hyper stressed and aware, but at least they know what's going on, and I still have the conversation of like, well, are you living within your means? And this is something that I have a conversation about a lot. I'm like, so when you're talking about your business, are you living and working your business within your means? And this is a conversation with especially business owners that will be like, for my business, I will spend that money. Like it's
so easy. Oh my God. Like $97 for this course. Yeah. But like $20 for this like nice little like toothpaste thing. Like, oh, it's too much. I can't. Ugh.
Right. And I mean, I've fallen into this as well. You're not alone. I've done this as well. And then, later you're like, I mean, but it was for my business. So for your businesses, you have to budget as well. You have to do the budgets and you have to make choices because you are still your business. Like you are still making money. And I know one of the things that I think that's very important, that was a mind shift for you as well, Alex, was when you were like, I have to pay myself.
Yeah.
Right. And whether that means for you that you have to pay yourself and that way you separate like what is business money from what is my money. And that's what really that means.
Yeah. Like you guys, 6 weeks ago, I started transferring money from my business, which is my sole source of income, to my personal checking account to pay for gas. I wasn't even moving money for gas. Like, no wonder I felt fucking broke all the time. I'm like, oh, it could be that simple. It could be that simple.
Right. But I also feel that for me, I've never like, there are different ways to do this. For me, I've never felt like I needed to pay myself, but I also know that my business has to have a certain amount of money. Like, so my money, like my business has this cushion and that's where that money goes. And if my business, so like, I am always like, my business has money and that's where this business, and the rest is mine. And that's what I do with it. So all my business, all of these expenses are paid for my business and the rest is my money.
Ooh,
so that's how I've always thought about it. So my business is like my child. Like it has to be paid for. And then I get the shit end of the stick or the magic. Right. And that's how I've always thought about it.
Right. Well, and so there's another book, so many books. We'll put these all in the description, called Profit First. Have you read that?
Yes.
And they totally, I can't think of the author's name. He's a huge fan of like paying yourself first and, setting up accounts so that you can pay yourself first, because I think too, like, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. Like you need to know how much it costs to run your business, and remind me to talk about the spreadsheet for that in a second. But if your business expenses are super duper high, right, and you're only like profiting, let's say you get $20 a month off of that, like, how are you eating? How are you living? Like, what is it worth if, right, you got to sleep on your bed in your office because you can't afford rent?
See, but then I'd look at you and I'd say, your business expenses are too high. You need to bring those down because your business, you are living outside of your means.
Yes.
And that is why I've never lived paycheck to paycheck, and my business has always been profitable.
Right. So I'm understanding you in that figuration of numbers. There's your business cushion, but there's also what you need to live on cushion also coming out of that.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah. So I always have, but I've always looked at it. So I feel like if you look at your business and you say, this is what this is what I need to live, but so this is what I have to spend for my business. And then sometimes I'm like, my business needs more money right now. If you look at your business like it was a child, my business needs this. My business needs these things. Okay. I'm willing to sacrifice a bit for that because it needs that business. But if you're like, you know what? I do need that air purifier right now. So I'm having conversations with people with air purifiers right now. There's a really amazing air purifier. I love it. It's going to cost you money. It's at the time of COVID. And people are like, I don't know if I can invest in that right now, but it's a piece of equipment I really need. And I'm like, what do you want to give up? And people are like, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm like, all right, well, what do you want to give up? What can you give up? Are you going to live on ramen? Are you giving up? So what are you giving up? Or what are you selling more of? What are you selling more of? What are you raising prices? So for me, I look at that and I'm like, I'm not giving up something. Maybe I need to look at my business and start making more money.
Okay. Yes. One way that Lindsay made that practical for me, because I know we've had this conversation and I hear those words, but for me, my brain needed to see it on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
She put together the spreadsheet for me. We just plugged in my numbers. Exactly this. What does it cost to run your business? What are you paying on software? What are you paying on rent? What is your own home rent? What are you paying on phone? Like literally line by line, everything. And then what would be, she had 3, like this is bare minimum.
Yep.
And then would be nice to have, next category. So, it would be really nice to have a daily harvest subscription so I could have a little bonus something in there. So that'll go in the nice to have category versus like cream of the crop, like, I'm traveling, I'm doing, so there's 3 money categories as far as like, how much am I going to spend in each of these like expense categories? Right. And then here's what your product costs, or here's what you charge per facial. Also including interest in there, or excuse me, not interest, but including taxes. Right. How many of this thing do you have to sell to cover those expenses? And I was like, Oh, and it wasn't, I think for me and my business too, and this is, it goes back to your money archetypes, which Lindsay in her book also talks about, because I think you and I have very different archetypes.
We do, very different.
I love spending, y'all. I love it. But where was, oh my gosh, I lost it because I was thinking about archetypes.
No, you're going back to, so what happened was, I remember when this happened, you came to me and you said, Cybil, I've discovered that I need to just have this many clients to cover my expenses. And oh my God. And it was like a revelation to you.
Yes.
And I remember thinking to myself, Alex, we've had this conversation like 4 times, but for you needed to have that spreadsheet.
Yes. Because as a business owner, thank you. I always am like, well, I'll just make more money. Right. But I'll just make more money isn't a plan.
No. No, you need that concrete, like, So, and for me, this is, remember how I tell people, so Alex, you've known me forever. What is the first thing that I ever told you to do?
Business plan.
Business plan. Second thing, raise your prices.
Oh, I know.
Raise your prices. Why? Because you don't need to get more clients per se. What did I just tell you recently to do?
I know. I don't want to talk about it, Cybil. It's very contentious. We're not having this conversation in public.
I just told you again, raise your prices.
I did raise my prices. And also excuse me, workshop. I'm doing a workshop as well. And I wrote the description and I was like, you guys, you need to be obsessed with your offers so that you show up with that type of energy. And I was like, damn, this shit is bomb. So good. So I definitely increased the price on that. And then this morning I got the idea of like different order bumps and offer sales and all of these things. So all of this is to say, when you're designing your life and your business and like what you want your life to look like, if you have expenses that require you to work 16 hours a day every day, and you don't have any time to sit there and think about things, that is not a good idea.
No, stop.
Don't do it.
Stop
Don't do it. Don't do it.
hard. Stop working so hard. So, and this is part of, and if you're like, this is part of the money mindset. And this is part of why you might be living paycheck to paycheck. And this might be why Alex is always like, you're like an alien, Cybil. You don't think like regular humans. But I think like a freaking CEO, guys. So like when you think to yourself, why is Jeff Bezos making so much money right now? That's how I think. Okay. Yeah. I think like these people because except maybe I have a little more integrity. So I would pay my employees and I'd give them, health insurance because there's no reason not to. Your employees should be happy. They work better. So if you think to yourself, what will make me happy? When I'm happy and I'm doing well and I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, I can then give better services to my clients, right? I can do a better job. I can be healthy. And in this world, we need to be healthy right now, guys. I can be healthy, right? And I can live a good life. I can also do better things, think better ideas, which is what Alex just said. I can think better ideas. I can be there with the energy I need. I have fallen into the pit hole before where I'm like, I need to squeeze a bunch of clients in because I have a vacation or I have like a surgery or whatever. And you know what? It's always turned out very poorly. It has had me sitting in my car, crying, feeling like I failed clients, which is the number one thing that makes me cry is that I feel like I failed clients.
Yeah, I think so. A friend of mine, Kim Bennett, she is a business coach and a badass, and we should probably talk to her on this show.
Yeah, get her on.
Great to have her.
Writing her down.
And she talks about like the mistake that people make is designing their life around their business rather than their business around their life. And so I think really starting with like the exercise with Lindsay of like, what do I need? But like, what would be nice to have? And how can I actually tangibly get there? Right. Without just hoping and praying that a benefactor is going to swoop in or my sugar daddy is going to arrive or a windfall from the U.S. government. Like that's not a plan of waiting for these things to happen, Right. And so having the tactical tools, but also dealing with your mindset issues and your anxiety around money, reaching out, getting professional help, like having somebody help you with this because like nobody figures anything out on their own. Even if they like to tell you they did it. Jeff Bezos didn't figure this out on his own. So you, as a CEO of your business, do not have to figure this out on your own. It doesn't make you any less of a business owner or any less of a person or weak to ask for help and get that help and then go kick ass.
That's right. That's right. And I think being just self-aware of it is one of the biggest steps and not being ashamed of it, being willing to talk to somebody, knowing your triggers. So I did want to like kind of talk about a little bit. We all have triggers about things, guys. We all know that like there's some like 2 a.m. in the morning. So I don't know if you know this. I've talked to you about it before, but 2 a.m. in the morning is the best time to make poor decisions.
I know. Like why even awake? It's bedtime.
So 2 a.m. is when literally our brain circadian rhythms drop down and we become more susceptible to things. It's why you're on your iPhone and you're making bad purchases. It's why you're picking your face. It's why you are making Tinder swipes, right? It is all the bad decisions start at 2 a.m. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about my text from today.
Right. So 2 a.m. Yes. So 2 a.m. is when our bad decision making actually physically starts to happen in our brain.
Yeah.
So if you are like, I started shopping at 2 a.m. and spending money, there's a reason. Okay. And so if you have triggers and you know that these are your triggers, hey, set up systems for yourself and be like, for me, I literally will leave a page open and not purchase things after like 2 a.m. I'm like, I don't purchase things. I look at it in the morning, and I'm not even a big spender.
Yeah. Oh, so something again, Lindsay, you guys just go pay her money. Seriously.
She's
That Lindsay
amazing.
taught me is to create a like intentional spending plan. So as
I
a
love that.
spender, like totally I would do that. I would like put something up, I would like leave it in the cart and leave it for a couple days. And then if in that period of time I could justify why I needed it, then I was like, well, then I can buy it, which had nothing to do with like what money I actually had to buy said
Right.
thing. And then I'm like, oh my God, how did I just spend $800 on Amazon this month? Like, what the fuck happened here? So she said, encouraged me to make a list of all of the things that I plan on purchasing in the next year. Because like in addition to buying stuff that I didn't really need, I didn't have money for, I would get this rush of like, yeah, I bought it. And it was like so fleeting, like balsa would just like poof up in flames and then gone. And there are things I know based on this list I just made that when I get these things, every single time I use them, I am going to have joy. For example, right now, I have a ring light. I just got a new ring light. I've needed a ring light since literally 2012, but just got one, whatever, we've arrived. It was $9. It's not about the money. It's not about the money, but I finally made the purchase. And I tell you, like, every single time I turn that on, I'm like, ooh, like I love it. It brings me so much joy. So maybe for you, even just like making a list of things that you're like, these are things I know are going to bring me joy and I know I want, and I don't want to forget about them. So that impulse is gone.
Right.
And then when you're like, oh, I'm going to go buy something and it's 2 a.m. and you're on, Amazon or Target or like whatever, you're like, wait, is this on my plan? No. Okay. I don't really need it.
Right. This is not something I need per se. Right. That's correct.
No. The other thing too I want to add about knowing your triggers is if you know when I go to Target and I walk down every aisle, I'm going to buy shit I don't need. Don't do that.
So
order online, pick up.
Right. Once again, we talk about dieting. We talk about hair. We talk about exercise. We do not talk about money. It falls into the same kind of categories. We fall into the same pitfalls. It has the same senses around it. It gives us feels. It gives us shame. It gives us joy. It gives us all the stuff, right? The thing is that we just don't discuss it.
No, but I have been talking about it with people and it's been really fun.
And the more you talk about it, the less stigma you have with it, the more you can discuss it. And you just have to kind of start doing it. And you find the people that you can to do it with. Like Alex and I talk about it. I have business people that I talk about it. And you start the conversation like, so I made a huge fucking error and I purchased something giant and I hate this machine that I bought. Right? And so he looks at you like, what? You're like, yeah, no, I just spent like $4,000 on a fucking machine that I hate. And was huge mistakes. Have you ever done that?
Trust me, people have. I mean, let's talk about my $25,000 investment on crap.
Right. And like, the more you do it, the less horrible it is. So I did want to talk for a second. So we've talked about how Alex kind of does things. I am shifting. I am shifting over right now to a kind of a new business model a little bit. And I'm looking for a coder and I'm hiring some people to work on some stuff for me. And I'm investing in something that I don't know very much about. And that is not usual for me. I'm a person who I like to know everything about what I'm doing. And I'm a gambler. So like, I'm like, I'll invest money in things and I'll gamble and do something that's a little like edgy, but I have to at least know what I'm doing. Right. So my man is like, Cybil, why haven't you like press go on this? And I literally have a sticker from one of my favorite artists. Her name is Sasa Elabasa. And I'll make sure I put her stuff up there. And it says, take the next step, even if it's scary. Okay. And it's sitting on my computer because it's like the thing that I'm always afraid of doing. It's like doing the next thing, even if it's scary. And I'm like, I'm not doing it because I feel inside that I'm missing something. I'm going to make a poor choice. And it's a lot of money. And I don't like to fail when it comes to money. And this is why I don't waste money because I'm like, I don't like to spend money. So I don't have those triggers. I don't spend money triggers, but I need to. So if you're also sitting out there and you're thinking to yourself, well, I should be moving forward with something, but I don't like to spend money. I'm there as well. I've done that as well. That is not a reason not to do something. Okay. You just need to talk to somebody about it. You need to learn more about it, or you need to find the person who will help you press go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because that is also part of a money mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely another archetype.
That money mindset. Right?
Yeah, there's like doomsday prepper and all of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's the other side of that people don't talk about as much, because we always talk about like, oh, we spend. I'm more of like a hoarder. I always say it's my dragon hoard. I hoard my money and I'm careful with it. But sometimes it needs to go, and you have to do things with it.
Yeah, well, and I'm grateful I'm partnered with someone who is more of a like hoarder, as far as like very reluctant to buy things, because it really helps to balance things out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I keep a financial planner also, because we really haven't talked about that. I do keep a financial planner, and I like my financial planner, and we've talked about this a little bit before. I keep a financial planner that I also can bounce ideas off of, and that I utilize for these things as well. So if you have a financial planner that you like, or if you've ever thought about getting one, that is also a way you can go. But if it's mostly a mindset issue, then you're looking for somebody like Lindsay.
Yeah, just start with her, guys. Just do it. I also wanted to touch upon spending money in your business, and part of like why, or at least for myself, why it feels so easy to spend money in my business and not other areas. So I think everything comes down to worth.
Yes.
And a lot of spending in my business of, oh, this Facebook ad, and oh, I bought this fancy software so that my website can look so cool, is me trying to outwardly prove that I have a real business rather than feeling that sense of confidence from within.
That is very deep. And I would never have thought of that, Alex.
Me neither. But I'm telling you, I was talking to Lindsay and I was like, oh, shit, girl, you're right.
Yeah. So guys, that is very deep and emotional. I'm going to tell you that if you have a business and you put that shit together, that's a real business.
I know.
Ready? Are you working on a business? Are you working in it? Listen, I grew up with my dad, who had 3 failed businesses. They were still businesses, right?
I know.
They all failed. They were still businesses.
Whether it's like self-worth and confidence lacking in like my personal life or my business life, like it's all there and it's all happening, and I'm really sick of it. And so the first thing is to like acknowledge and then be like, oh, am I trying to buy this thing to make myself look more legitimate, or am I buying it because it's something I actually truly need?
That's so interesting. I wonder because one of the things that I am constantly struggling with when I look at newer kind of estheticians coming up is that they spend a lot of money on these outward trappings. And I struggle with this. I struggle so hard not to judge, but I just find that as somebody who looks at new estheticians, I'm like, this is not where I feel like people should be spending money, because at any moment your business could collapse and fail. And then you have all these outward trappings, which, trust me, these outward trappings are worth nothing. But your education is worth something. Spending money on your business software is worth something. Spending money on to build a business is worth something. And yes, I mean, trappings, they make you look pretty, but just like exterior wise, it's not helping you. And your back bar matters, and what your investment in other things, for me, in my opinion, matter when you're trying to build a business. And when I've seen estheticians just fail in 2 to 3 years, I look at how they failed, and I was like, right here, this line here, when you decided that you were going to invest all this money in, upgrading your spa decor, taking that $5,000, that's where you should have brought in a new product line, because you could have made money. And it always stresses me out, and I wonder if that's where it comes from, the like need to like look like you feel like you have a business. And I've never thought of that before, Alex. You always
leave it to me to have deep emotional insights. I'm a Pisces. What can I say?
You always bring so much emotion to here, and we think Lindsay from afar.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, because she was like asking me about like, oh, these Facebook ads and like, if you like cut that, because I was like, oh, well, it totally makes sense because like, people are buying in return and like it's like a zero sum game. It's like totally fine. Just like if you cut that, you would have like an extra $300 every month. I was like, yeah, but I can. And then I was like, oh, wait. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. There's so much of it. And I think so much of it comes down to like confidence. And the crazy thing I think about confidence from someone who's outwardly like super duper confident, like I have zero problems like going live on Facebook and like being my authentic self and like being silly and speaking in front of crowds and just like that literally doesn't faze me. And yet I still wonder, like, do they like me? Do they really, really like me? Yeah. So I think for a lot of people, like that's the underlying thing that's your operating principle. And it's not really a healthy, sustainable, productive place to come from as someone who is there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. And yeah. I mean, I know as somebody who's also very confident, I think that my hardest point is the fact that I feel that I get horribly judged a lot. And it's taken me years to just be like, you either like it, you either like me or you don't. And I just have to roll with that. And it took me years. It took me years. So, you'll get there.
Yeah, being a human is hard, man. Being sensitive.
Being a human is super hard. It's super hard. And then it'll still get you sometimes. You'll be like, it'll catch you unaware. Somebody will say that one thing that like, for whatever reason, gets through your like walls and you'll get triggered and you'll be like, oh God. They caught me unawares and I was not prepared. My armor was loose there.
But I think, the triggers are always going to be there. How you react and what you do with that is all you.
All you. And I really want to stress to everyone that having somebody in your life, at least one person, hopefully more, because then the burden is then shared, to talk about these things, to bounce these ideas off of is so important. And try to find a peer because they will understand, right? Like I have Alex, I have other esthetician friends that you can go to and be like, I'm struggling. I need to talk to you. This is what's going on. They will give you different perspective and you will be surprised. Like Alex here, she's talking to, Lindsay. Lindsay says something and she's like, this has blown my mind. It's changed my perspective on this. And it's so different. She then shares it with me and I'm like, oh my God, my perspective is super changed now. We share it with you and hopefully your perspective has changed and you share it with someone else. And this is why we can't sit in a vacuum, especially a social media vacuum where we all just share the same 3 ideas over and over again.
No, it's so important to be surrounded by people who not only inspire you, but who also show you what's possible. And I hope that, definitely, Cybil, you do that for me. And, just you are a reflection of like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So like find those people who are not sitting around talking about how broke they are and how lovely ramen is. No shade to ramen. But like, I didn't even know you guys like, there are people who I know personally who get paid literally $20,000 for a 1-hour speaking engagement. I didn't even know that was an option until I met them and I got into the rooms where these people were and I felt horribly inadequate, like I didn't belong there. But you don't know what's possible if you're just still stuck in the same stuff you've been doing that's not feeling like it's working for you.
That's right. And so your money mindset is something that allows you to broaden and expand that. And if you find that you are living in a paycheck to paycheck reality and you'd like to get out of that, these are the ways that you do it, right? You surround yourself with different people. You start finding your triggers. You start setting up new systems that allow you to change how change how your money is allocated, right? And understand, we're going to stay straight. I'm going to say it. It's hard.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I'm going to say it right now. Change. It's hard.
Yep.
Okay. I believe it's one of our mottos. This shit is hard.
Shit's hard. It sucks. Change is hard. And also you're going to make mistakes. And part of this journey for me has been realizing how forgiving I am of mistakes, like in my workouts. Oh, I skipped a workout. I'm like, whatever. Oh, you forgot to transfer money to pay this bill, and suddenly I'm a piece of shit. Like, it's not, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like, be more forgiving of yourself because you are going to make mistakes. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Yes. And I'm going to repeat again because it seems so obvious. What we talk and we look at things like workouts and diets and hair care and face care, and we're like, I didn't wash my face one night, and we'll look at you and be like, well, poo, you need to really work on that. So maybe you didn't, you messed up on how you bought something, and poo, you're going to work on that.
Oh,
right?
wow.
You're going to forgive yourself and get over it and do better next time. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're doing. We're all working on this.
Action. Keep moving forward. There's like, for those of you, I heard the story this week, and so it's really top of mind for me. For those of you who are spiritually inclined, there's that story in the Bible of Jesus and Peter, and he's Jesus walking on the water. He's like, Peter, come over here. Peter's like, yeah, man, what's up? And then Peter's like, oh my God, I'm walking on the water. And the minute he like stops to look down, he starts sinking and he starts freaking out. Jesus is like, no, like keep moving. Right? So the same is for us. Like, you just need to keep walking forward, to keep taking steps, to keep taking action, because with every single action you take, you're either going to learn from it, period. And it's either going to work out or it's not going to work out, but you learn something and then you keep going. And that's where you get that confidence from those successes and those wins.
Absolutely.
But nothing happens sitting at home crying, eating ramen. I mean, I like ramen. I really shouldn't talk that much shit on ramen.
I mean, eating ramen happens, but that's about it. That's about it. So we hope that we have inspired and that we're working on changing your life. If you are somebody who is being inspired, please let us know. We could use it. Share this with somebody else.
Clearly, we need it. And share it and give us a pat on the back, please.
Let us know. Subscribe, please. And do share this with somebody you know, because I think that more people need to know about money and the help. I mean, 100%.
Yes. And this episode is coming out the week of Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to say I'm super grateful for all of you who take the time to listen to these episodes, to reach out to us. This has been, because we're almost up on our year too.
We're coming up, Alex. We are.
Yes. It's just so cool to be able to have this idea. And I remember you texting me about it. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And it's been such an awesome opportunity to like talk about stuff and hear back from you guys listening of just things you're doing. And so I'm so grateful for you, Cybil, and for you, dear listener, dear watcher.
And I am also very, very grateful. In fact, I cried about it when we started the show, not on camera.
Sorry, I'm trying to get you to cry again. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
So thank you, everyone. And we will see you next week. We have stuff that we go through at the end of the show. So Alex is going to send us off.
Oh, right. I was all ready to do then like call it when we're done. All right. So hit us up. Tell us, all the things. We've already given you marching orders. Just tell us already. We're on Instagram. You can find the show at Skinfessional. You can find Cybil at Your Skin Fitness Expert. And you can find me at Hala or Mala.
That's right. And we have a Skinfessional box that you can call it and leave us messages. It is 818-473-5277. So guys, until next week,
keep your secrets to yourself.
Unless you're telling us.
Okay, bye.
Bye.